Oh,
So
we're live. Yes, Melissa, we're live on Facebook.
oh, we are live. Sorry. Hello, everybody. Welcome to LGBT Live on Monday. We're here. I'm Melissa from Youth Work Ireland, Cavan, Monaghan.
Hi, I'm Barry from Cavan and Monaghan Rainbow Youth.
I'm Neve. I'm from the LGBT group and I used to be a volunteer.
So thanks very much for being here. And it's my first time going live, so I'm a bit nervous on my own without Caelan. So thanks, Caelan, for handing the baton over to me. So how is everybody?
Fantastic.
So Barry, we're just going to jump in because it's Pride Month, and I just wanted to check up with you because you were saying that you were trying to get in contact with county councillors. I love your mics.
Thanks very much. Yeah, they're new. Just got them. Hi, Caelan, we miss you. Sorry.
So you were trying to get in contact with county councillors about flying the Pride flag over the month of June on buildings. So have you had any updates?
Yeah, councillors Colin Carthy and Kathy Bennett from County Monaghan County Council, they have been in contact with me there in the run-up to the weekend and over the weekend. Monaghan County Council has said that they're going to fly the rainbow flag to support, as a symbol of support for our young LGBT people, along with Cavan and Monaghan ETB, the CE of both of them, Eamon O'Sullivan and John Kearney, have both said that they will fly the flag to support our LGBT young people through Pride Month for a number of reasons. Like, we will discuss the Belong To report in a few moments, but a few of the issues in the Belong To report are things that I actually had cited when I sent the email out to the councillor. So it was sent out to all councillors across Cavan and Monaghan and TDs. As I say, thankfully, Monaghan County Council and the ETB have positively responded. Now, I do know Cavan County Council, they actually are having their AGM today, so possibly we'll hear some word from them, hopefully later on today or tomorrow, around getting that support visible there for our young LGBT people. But to be honest, for me, it's a monumental thing. I'll not lie, I shared it in a Facebook post over the weekend. Whenever Kathy and Colin both, because they were the ones that were actively promoting it within the Monaghan County Council and the ETB, when they responded with their social inclusion officer, Bernie Bradley, CC'd in, it looked extremely positive at the time, and this is before any promises were made. And I cried, because it's an amazing achievement, I think, for our county to have Pride being acknowledged. It's probably, I think it's the first time. I don't recall it ever happening in the past. And specifically because one of the main things that I was addressing was the isolation that young LGBT people are facing at the moment. Obviously, everybody is facing that same isolation, but it's compounded by your sexuality and identity when you're possibly in a place where you can't be yourself. So, yay.
Yeah, and it is very symbolic to see it on a building that the Pride flag is there. So, like, you know, imagine seeing it at a town hall or the county council offices, or even if it was at your school, even if the schools are not open. Yeah. Imagine being able to see that. You know, it's kind of like the official buildings are kind of, you know, there, and it's that an official stance is kind of taken in solidarity.
Exactly, and it's sort of it's reaffirms the public stance 5 years ago with the marriage equality referendum. You know, it is just sort of reaffirming. That is the right Englishness, isn't it? It is reaffirming that there and making it visible again, because again, the LGBT community is an almost invisible minority in Ireland. As we've talked about on numerous occasions over the last few weeks, there is still homophobia, there is still discrimination against LGBT people. So having that visible presence it's fantastic. I have also today emailed this chief superintendent in the Monaghan division of Garda Síochána as well, to see if because again, our young people need to remember that if they ever feel threatened, if they ever have threats against them, the Gardaí are there to support, and they will support you regardless of your identity or sexuality. So to have something like that there, hopefully at Garda stations as well, will also just reassure young people. You can step out, be yourself, and don't be afraid.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And Niamh, what does it mean to you when you see an LGBT flag somewhere, a pride flag, a rainbow flag? You know, when you see it somewhere, like, what does it do for you?
It just shows me that we're in a changing world. Like, we're actually trying to change, and we're trying to be a bit more understanding that everyone's different. And I suppose when I see a pride flag flying anywhere, I'm actually hopeful. I'm actually very, very hopeful for the future and what possibilities it brings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's nice to see the support too. That's a major thing about it. It's sometimes being LGBT, you can feel very lonely, and then you go out and you see an LGBT flag and you go, oh, you know what, there is other people like me, and I don't have to be alone, you know, that sort of way.
Yeah, exactly. And even when you're talking about being alone and loneliness, it just brings me on to the next piece that we're going to talk about, which is Belong To, which is the National Youth Service for young LGBT people in Ireland. They have sent and they've published key findings from a survey they've done. It's LGBTI plus life in lockdown. So what life in lockdown has been for LGBT young people. And they surveyed nearly 300 young people. And some of the findings are actually quite stark. They're not surprising, but they still are stark kind of to read. So just mental health, obviously, it comes up hugely. It says 93% of LGBT young people are struggling with anxiety, stress, or depression, compared to 53% of young people named in a different survey, a check-in survey in 2020. So there's a big difference there between LGBT young people and then just 53% of young people in general that were surveyed. So you can see mental health barriers come up as a big issue there.
Yeah, and as you say, it's no surprise, like from we started doing these Facebook live streams, it's been something that we've all been sort of pushing, is the mental health issues that young LGBT people are facing. And it's bad enough, like we do know in ordinary society without lockdown, young LGBT people are 3-4 times more at risk of mental health issues, depending on different grades, of course. So under this, like I'm literally looking here to my left, and like 93% of young people are struggling with anxiety, stress, or depression. 93% is it's unbelievable that this is so. I wasn't expecting it to be as bad, but put it that way. The 55% of LGBT young people struggling with suicide ideation. And again, suicide is something that we need to talk about. We need to have these discussions around mental health and suicide, because we're losing far too many young people to mental health issues and to suicide. So it's not something that we can brush under the carpet. Now, to be honest, whenever I was communicating with the councillors in relation to the pride flag, these are issues that I had actually raised with them in the letter that I forwarded, because it is something that we are extremely aware of. It's good to have this coming out today, and it only supports the work that we've been trying to do. It only supports the facts that we've been sharing, you know, to our councillors, to our TDs. But it's extremely daunting to think that we're not able to reach these young people and make their lives any better. Young people regard the mental health as bad or very bad. 60% are experiencing loneliness. And again, that comes back to what you're saying, Niamh. You can be in a room full of people, but if them people don't know who you are or don't accept who you are going to be lonely. You know, you can be sitting in the house with maybe 8 family members. If they don't know that you're gay, or they don't know you identify as trans, or that you're bi or lesbian, they just don't. And a lot of the times, even if they do know, they still don't understand what it is. They don't understand the turmoil that you're going through, the mental struggles that you're going through, just trying to figure out who you are in your own mind. Never mind everything else that society's putting on you as a teenager or as a young adult. So yeah.
And see, Only in the
Surprise!
best way that you can.
Yeah. Have to take my glasses off because that light's reflecting and then I can't see anything. Now I can't see
Niamh,
you.
it talks about home environment in this survey, and it's
Yeah.
saying that 42% of LGBT young people said they were not fully accepted in their home environment, and 53% said that they stated their home environment was not good. So during this pandemic, you know, what do you think of those statistics? So for young people who, you know, a lot of us have to stay at home, there's not many activities going on. We're not in lockdown officially anymore, but we're at home a lot. And if you're not being supported, what do you imagine that's like for them as an LGBT young person?
I can imagine from my own experience, it was like I was coming home to my family and then I was changing my personality. It was like putting a mask every time I walked through my front door, and that's hard. It is hard to live under that. It's like, and you're sitting there and you're like, these people don't actually know who I am. They haven't got a clue about me, not one thing. And it is hard. You kind of feel, I suppose, what's the right word I'm trying to search for? You kind of feel lost, I suppose. You feel lost, and I suppose the best thing to do is, under the circumstances, is just try and stay in contact with your friends as much as possible, because generally your friends are people who understand a lot more, or you've talked to a lot more than your family, and that's important. Just to keep talking to your friends, keep talking about your mental health, keep talking about how you're feeling and everything like that, because it's important to talk. And not bottle anything up, because I'd imagine it would just drive you mad.
And like, even when you were saying, like, you were going to say, like, you nearly have to change your personality. That's what you want to say. And then by talking with your friends, I think that gives you the connection to be more your truer self. That's the link between who you really are if you're in that kind of environment.
Yeah.
So you have that link there with your friends. Yeah.
Having to censor yourself at home, though, that's extremely difficult. Like, the home environment is the one place that you should feel safe and secure.
Yeah.
So as Niamh was saying, going back to a place where the people don't know you, and I can relate to that, because again, it is one of them things that you need to feel valued within your home environment. And it's not that I don't feel valued within my home environment, but as a young LGBT person, you are trying to come to terms with who you are. I don't come to terms is an awful way of putting it, but you understand where I'm coming from. You're trying to understand yourself as an individual, and not being able to be yourself with your mum or your dad or your brothers or sisters. And then there's another comment here just under that there, where they know I'm gay. I need to move this closer because I'm old. Sorry, they know I'm gay, but we do not speak about it. They make comments without thinking and never make any effort to be accepting or ask me about my personal life. And another one where my sister harasses me and calls me slurs to her friends. I just want quarantine to be done so I don't have to hear her justify homophobia. And again, that happens all the time in the family circles. People think it's all right to make a joke of your identity or sexuality among the friends or other family members, and they don't take into consideration every time they use one of them slurs, it's having a detrimental effect on our young people. Let's go back to it, on their mental health. So
it's even commenting on the TV. That's what always brings back to my mind of like, you know, your parents or an old aunt or uncle commenting on something on the TV and saying something that's like totally inappropriate, but it kind of hits you hard. You know, because it's indirectly, you know, saying something about you or their opinion of you. Exactly. You know, so it's the thoughtlessness that goes into things as well. So so as I said, Belong To have come out with those findings, and it's kind of like, well, you know, they have another piece after that of kind of what can we do? What can we do to kind of help each other, or what can we do as a youth service? And I suppose it's to say that we are here to support LGBT young people, and myself and Barry are open to young people contacting us and looking for a bit of support, and for us to kind of give them space to be who they want to be and have a chat with us if they want to. Not right, Barry?
Exactly, yeah. Like the belong to response, yeah, it's about digital youth work. It's about digital youth groups. Like we have that there, and this is a prime example of the digital youth work. Like we mightn't be interacting directly with young people, but they can engage with us whenever they wish. And then there's obviously then the other one is creating LGBT inclusive schools and youth services. Again, we're already working extremely hard and have been you have been for centuries, Melissa. I'm relatively new to the post,
Barry.
so I've only been doing it for the last year. But yeah, especially the digital youth work. Don't be afraid. Like it could be a while yet before we're able to run our clubs again. But we're still here, and we'll find alternative ways of actually supporting you should you need it.
Okay, so thanks for that, Barry.
You're
We're
very
just
welcome.
going to go on to our next subject, which is that it's Pride Month, and a lot of organisations are supporting Pride. And this week, SpongeBob Squarepants has come out as LGBT through Nickelodeon, and some of the other characters as well. So they've kind of come out and said, you know, we're supporting Pride and we're supporting our LGBT characters and their allies. So there was a few other characters as well, but SpongeBob was obviously the most prominent. So we're just kind of talking about, you know, what LGBT characters or personalities or celebrities are in our lives that kind of, you know, for children as well, that they have an LGBT character that they can, you know, identify with, that's on the TV for them, which I think is great. And is it any surprise that SpongeBob is LGBT?
No.
Hardly not.
It's clearly written, it's clearly seen with these little bits and pieces within it, but it's good that they have come out and they have shown support for the LGBT community in that sort of way. And it's brilliant that children, teenagers, even adults, whoever, can sit down and have someone or something on the TV and go, yeah, that's pretty funny. I get that humor. You know, it's nice, because sometimes you're sitting there watching TV and everything's all, you know, normal and straight, and you're there like, oh, this is horrible. But no, it is good that they showed their support. It's very good.
So I'm just wondering then, you know, we're talking about TV. So I wonder, who was the first queer or LGBT representative that you've seen in the media when you were younger? So who do you think, or who do you remember as being the first kind of LGBT person that you've seen in the media?
It would have had to been Lady Gaga. She's like my idol.
Now we're going to turn you off because you're so young.
Yeah.
So okay, it was Lady Gaga.
Yeah, I just remember seeing her, and everything about what she stood for made sense. And I was like, that's what I stand for. And you form this kind of bond or connection with this person, and you go, they support the same thing I support, and you look at them and you go, they're not getting, they're doing well, they're showing their support to everyone else, and they're making their voice loud and clear, which is so important, because as I said earlier, talking is the answer to everything. That's the answer to stress, mental health, all sorts. It's just you talk and let everything out. That's it.
Well, it was great that she was like, she's very positive and very empowered LGBT person for you to identify with. So what about you, Barry?
Yeah, no, for me it would have been Lady Gaga as well. You know, I'm not young.
As a child, Barry.
I wish. I don't know. Like we had a brief chat about this earlier. I suppose for me, like when you look at LGBT/queer, one of the first ones that sprung to mind whenever we chatted about this earlier was Lily Savage. Now again, Lily Savage or Paul O'Grady. That's an alter ego. And Lily Savage was very much in your face, and Lily Savage got a lot of airtime as well, like in the late 80s, early 90s. Brought comedy to the fore. You had artists like Boy George as well, who, whenever we were talking earlier, Boy George, his entire gender expression is neither male nor female. Like, he takes elements from both. And, you know, the likes of Harry Styles nowadays is doing similar to what Boy George was doing 20, 30 years ago. But for me, I would say, oh, geez, and of course, Freddie Mercury. My God, I only started listening to Freddie's music too late, and unfortunately, he was gone. I never got the privilege of actually seeing him live, where so many of my friends seen him in Slane, I think it was, and I'm like, oh my God, could you imagine that?
Yeah.
But for me, definitely Ellen DeGeneres. Now, I know Ellen has got serious bad press of late, and I don't want to weigh on that because I don't know enough about it. But her coming out episode of her sitcom way back in the day, back in the late 90s,
I remember
that episode changed my life. It changed my life. Channel 4 ran a coming out party. Graham Norton hosted it, and it was a couple of episodes leading up to her coming out, and it just, I laughed so much where she was playing with, and not being flippant, she was just playing with the whole coming out story and concept, but then actually did it, you know, in the airport over a tannoy system to an airport full of people. Like, it was just one of the funniest pieces of comedy I've ever seen. But it was also extremely well played. It was extremely well told. You could see the genuine fear in not just the character, but in Ellen DeGeneres herself as an individual coming out. And she lost her career as well. That's the other thing. Like, Ellen lost her career. Everybody sees her at the chat shows, but Ellen disappeared for like over 10 years because was it HBO? I'm not sure. I'll not actually say. Whatever network she was with at the time cut her once she came out. They cut her. And they supported her up to that point, but I think there was that much backlash. So for me, Ellen DeGeneres, she made life a lot more bearable. Like, I sat and watched that coming out episode with an LGBT friend of mine, Carla, in her home, and it was one of the most moving things as well. Again, I get very emotional when I think about things like that there, but it was to be able to see a celebrity and go, wow, she's done it. I was going through it. I was struggling with it. I think Melissa's dog is currently barking because she's now muted.
No, I've a child who's crying, so I'm going to have to go.
No
right. Well, we've only 5 minutes left anyway, so, but I'm going to have to go, I think. Are you all right, Maeve? No, she's not. Okay. Right, guys, this is how live Facebook goes.
No problem at all.
Okay, so we will meet again next week and we'll chat a bit more.
Meet again. Perfect. Yes.
Bye bye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks very much.
Talk to you soon.
Or I can just leave the meeting. I don't think I can do that.
Oh, well, you have to pass it. You have to send over hosting. Oh, and she's gone, but we're still live. And now we have thunder. So yeah, there was one other thing that we were talking about was we might come back to it next week whenever Melissa's back, but we were talking about a song that we find sort of what was the question? Something that emphasizes or supports the LGBT. I'm not sure. Something that stands out to you as an LGBT song. Niamh, if you have any suggestions?
Yeah, mine would probably be Changes by David Bowie. It's just when you sit down and you listen to the lyrics to it, you can apply it to any stage of your life whatsoever. And it's a feel good song. You feel slightly better after you've listened to it, and I think that's what's important with music. Music's very, very good thing to change your feelings. If you're feeling sad, you generally listen to sad music. But you put on some happy tunes, and next thing, 10 minutes later, you know, you're ecstatic.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose when I was thinking about it earlier as well, there's one that stands out to me straight away, and it is a sad song, but I respond to it for the positivity within the video of the song, and that was Christina Aguilera's Beautiful.
Yeah.
because that was one of the first videos I ever saw that actually had LGBT characters. Now, it was obviously dealing with many issues such as bullying. It was dealing with anorexia and eating disorders. It was dealing with people being isolated due to their sexuality or identity. It was looking at being transgender. It was looking at just being, as you were saying earlier, not normal. And that was all in the video. Now the lyrics totally back it up, but the video of that song, it still sits with me. Like, and how long is it from that song was released? Like, that's easily 15 years, I would say, more. Oh my God, you're getting old, Niamh. So that was the height of the conversation I had earlier. I suppose before we do go, I would like to just point out, now obviously Colin McCarthy and Cathy Bennett, they supported the movement for the pride flags to be flown in Monaghan. And I'm sure our elected reps in Cavan will do the same. But I also want to acknowledge just 3 other councillors that did communicate with me pretty much straight away in relation to it, is Aoife McCooey, Pat Traynor and Sean Conlon. So thanks to all of them and everybody else in Monaghan County Council who has supported that so far. Unless you've anything else to say though, Niamh, maybe we shall depart.
I think that should be wise.
That should be wise. Well, here, folks, it's been great. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll see you again next Monday at 5:30. Bye.
Bye.
Oh, I don't know how to end this. Okay, we're still here, folks. And now we're gone.